Hello, welcome to this video. It's philosophy. Why did I call it? I can't say the word philosophy without having a good run up at that word. I can't just go straight in. Shall I start again? Hello, welcome to this video, and this video. Let's have another go. Let's have another go. You can do it. You can do this, Andy. You can conquer it. Come on. Hello and welcome to this video. It's Philosophy Sunday today, and on this video I'm going to be exploring how you or me or anybody can get more creative, and exploring what I think is a problem that stops people from being creative. Right, so the subtitle of this video, and I've got to read it off here, is Ignore the Damnation of the Past and the Tyranny of the Future. And now you should be looking at a picture of me many years ago with black hair, a lot less wrinkles and no glasses because my eyes worked back then, next to a computer simulation of me when I'm older. I'm just telling you that now. That's not me now. That's me. That's a computer simulation of me when I'm older. So on this photograph that you're looking at, you can see this imagined idea of time running from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. And between it is the statement, I'll say it again, ignore the damnation of the past and the tyranny of the future. So, to put it simply, and I could just say this now and then you can switch off and you can go, oh, so Andy's told us how to be more creative. On this video, I'm going to try and make the point that you will be more creative if you ignore the damnation of the past and you ignore the tyranny of the future. All right? Now, before we get into what I mean by that, I do believe there are two types of creative musicians, right? Just on a video on Chaka Khan, and I was watching a lot of interviews by her, and at one point the interviewer asked her, and it's a very interviewer question, it's like, these interviews they're not musicians, they don't really know what they're talking about, and they say, oh, do you read music? There's this idea out there that everybody reads music, and if you don't read music then you are somehow either an innate genius or you don't actually possess the skills, so you must be able to make music through some sort of divine intervention. It's just not like that, and the answer that Chaka Khan gives is a bit mysterious, because she actually turns around and says, well, Miles Davis didn't read music. Now, Miles Davis went to Juilliard, he could read music, he could read anything. The point she's making is that when Miles Davis was making music, he didn't read music. When I interviewed the great Narada Michael Walden, and I said, when you joined the Mahavishnu Orchestra, did you have charts? And Narada turned around to me and said,
No, charts don't exist at that level. They don't, man.
No.
I couldn't read. There's a guy right now named Aubrey up in Canada who transcribes what I play. I'll play with me, or the stuff like that, or Mahavishnu, and I can't read that stuff. It was, to me, at that, we're praying for God to come through. So when God comes through, I have no idea. I'm just doing what I feel, is the spirit.
They're tapping into something unconscious. They're tapping into something that they don't really understand, right? They are opening themselves up to a world out there that is not really, they actually don't really feel it's a part of them. It's something from outside, This is a really interesting idea. I am definitely in that camp of musicians, and I have created creative strategies to try and help me access that unconscious aspect of the world. Then there's other musicians, and other musicians they're preparers. These are the ones that will learn solos, and then they'll go on YouTube and go, I've just learnt this Charlie Parker solo, I've just learnt this Alan Holt solo. They've spent the last how many months getting it down note for note, right? And to them, their world of creativity is probably a world where they learn this thing, they work out the territory, they work out what they want to do, they prepare for it, and then the artistry is in their ability to not basically go wrong when they perform it. You know, that's what the artistry is. Now, you need musicians like that. But musicians like that are interpreters, and we're talking about creativity here, all right? If you feel that you're in the second group, the ones that like to prepare and have everything done, and then it's all about you going right or wrong, and then if you go wrong, it's not right, and that's not right, and that's not creative, then if you are in that, you need to interpret someone else's creativity, and you will be creative when you interpret it, because your interpretation will be based upon all your preparation, right? So this is a little bit like, you know, if you are making a film, somebody might come up with this storyline, and that storyline is pulled out of the air. The stories don't exist. What are stories? You know, they're like lies. You know, you're going to tell this lie because it's compelling. It's really interesting. And then the actor comes in, and the actor then has to look at that role, and they have to apply themselves and become that role. This is a dynamic that also exists in music. And I think some of us are creators. We're searching to try and find that thing, that magical thing. And when we find it, we know we found it. And then once we've found that, there are hopefully musicians out there that will hear it and go, I understand what you're trying to do, and I'm going to interpret it. Now, this idea of interpretation is really about preparing, right, based upon what you already know, to do something in the future that you can hopefully predict. Which I'm going to do that, right? If you've got your 3D glasses on, put your 3D glasses on now, so that is there, right? And I am pointing into the future with my past behind me. Right, the trouble is I'm not facing that way, I'm facing the other way, and I'm moving backwards through through time. Getting confused between space and time, which is of course what this video is really all about. So I'm looking at my past, and I am trying to, by interpreting my past, act in a way now that will put down a pattern that will hopefully spin out into the future, right? It never does it? It never does. When an artist approaches me and they want to become creative, one of the things that helps them is to really do realistic goal setting. Now, anybody who's studied NLP will know that I've got a lot of this from NLP. So if you want to explore this more, go and have a look at some NLP videos. But the idea I'm taking from NLP is this idea of making a goal which is not the normal goal, which won't happen because inherent in that goal are aspects of it that will make it unable to happen, right? So you think about what your goal is, and you think, can that happen? And you analyze whether it can happen on a number of different things. Now, the first thing is, very simply, for a goal to happen, it has to be positive. You can only achieve a positive. If you're trying to achieve a negative, all you can do is just put that off until you achieve the opposite of this and don't achieve the negative. It's impossible to achieve a negative. Well, it's not impossible. You could be sat on your deathbed, and then you could quickly say to yourself, did I not do that thing? And if you haven't, then you've achieved it, and then you can pop your clogs, depending on there not being an afterlife where you might have to then carry on trying to not achieve that. So a goal that is a negative goal would be giving up smoking, trying to lose weight, trying to turn your music into something that will stop you from having to do your job. I don't want to do my job. I want music to replace it. These are all sort of negative goals. So first of all, it's got to be positive. It's got to be something that you can achieve. And how do you know that you've achieved something? Well, because you've achieved it. And the only way you could do that is by thinking of a specific example that when you achieve that specific thing, you have achieved your goal, right? So if you say, well, I want to be a successful musician. Why? Because I don't want to work really. That's a negative goal. Why do you want to be a successful musician? Because I will then be able to sustain myself and make creative music. Well, do you have to be a successful musician to do that? It's putting it under the things. Give me something positive that you want to achieve. Okay, I would love to have an audience for my music. That's really what I want. I know I can make music at home, but I want an audience for my music. Oh, well, that's much better, right? So what audience do you want? You want a live audience? You want a recording? You know, I don't know. I'd like to be able to put my stuff online. Now, we're getting specific now. So how many people would make you happy that would like you? I don't know. As long as there's some people there. Was it 10, 50, 100? Well, I don't know. I think if there was 100 people out there that just really liked my music, that would be an achievement. Now we have a positive, specific goal. And when you've got 100 people, you could say, I have achieved this goal. I now have 100 people that like what I do. Now this process is a lot more complex than that, because you have to consider your ability to achieve that, and is there anything standing in your way, and you have to analyze whether you have the skill set to do all the things required, because this is the next thing. Once you've got a specific goal like that, it's very easy to say, well, what would you need in place to achieve that goal? You would need to have written some stuff, recorded it well, get it on Spotify or get it on Bandcamp. You will have to have marketed it and reached a number of people that will then like it, right? And then you'll say, well, how do you do that? And I would say, well, which one of those can you do right now? Well, I can record the stuff, I can write it, I can definitely write it. Well, go away and write it. That's the first thing you need to do. Now, what can't you do? Well, I can't really record it because I don't really know I ain't got a computer set up at home. Have you got any money? Could you afford to get in the studio? Well, could. How much would it cost? I don't know. Recording studios they're for people who can't do that stuff. You know, you might be able to get one track out. One track would be a good place to start, you know. And so you start to get a structure based upon that goal. So I'll go into how much we get 250 quid. One day in the studio, get 3 tracks done. We'll release them separately. We'll market them by putting one track out. We'll need to shoot a video. Do you know anything about video? No. Well, so you might have to get a video done. How can I get a video done? All these questions start to emerge. Some of the things you'll be able to do, and some of the things you won't be able to do. Being able to pick a specific goal that is positive, and most important, and I haven't mentioned this, is when you start to talk to people like that and you get a goal which is not completely out of your reach. Because when somebody says, I want to be the biggest band on the planet, I want to have a #1 record, anybody who says that goal is only ever any use to them if they believe it. If you don't believe it, it's going to be something that's going to come and bash you, right? Now, this is what I mean by damnation and tyranny, right? Your ideas that you have as a creative musician could well be coming and damning you not to succeed, or controlling you in a tyrannical way where you're not going to be able to do what is required, right? So I really want to try and explain that on this video, and it's going to be a difficult one, but if you're with me, you can see that if we get our goal right, hopefully we have a future plan which is sort of future-proofed. We could start to go and say, well, what could go wrong? And the most important thing is that if you look at this aspect that we are travelling down, a really interesting thing to ask yourself is, what is the energy that actually drives you down that? And the energy, the petrol, the fuel in the car that gets you to your goal is motivation. It's as simple as that. And motivation is based upon how compelling your goal is. And what makes your goal compelling is it has to be seen reachable, but slightly out of reach. When you say a goal like that to someone, when you say we're going to get you 100 followers on Bandcamp, and we were going to know that they're going to buy your album, and they're going to buy your album for $10, and that $10, 100 people, is going to enable you to have $1,000, and that's going to be able to fund you to make your next album. Then you'll make your next album, and that'll make another 1,000, and then you can sustain yourself. But also, there's going to be an upward momentum, so hopefully that will grow. And people go, well, so what do I need to do that? Well, you need to do this, this, and this, and this. Well, I can't do this. So these are the solutions to that. That's the future proofing. Oh, so I know a plan, yeah. So what do I do? Well, right now, all you should concentrate on is writing songs. Or if you've written songs, all you should now is choosing which song you want to record, because we're only going to record one song. Why? Because the idea of you recording an album, right, is actually demotivating you. I know, it's too much. I don't know. I was going to write. I wanted to put an album out. Why do you want to put an album out? I don't know. It's a goal I've got. I would love to have an album out. Well, you can have an album out when you've made 10 songs, but how about making each song one at a time in bite-sized chunks? Why not create the motivation to move forward? Right now, because yesterday, right. My house is an absolute mess, right? I've just spent so much time YouTubing and doing all sorts of things that the house is getting a right mess. And sometimes I get up in the morning and I go, oh, I need to tidy that up. Oh, there's that mess there and that needs to be fixed, right? Everyone knows that feeling. That is the demotivational feeling, right? Now, yesterday I did a ton of work, because what I did is I said to myself, this job's got to be done, but the job is too big and it's demotivating me. So why don't I just pick one job? Let's just pick the front of the house and make the front of the house look great. Then I looked at that and I realised that in itself was a ton of work, but I was able to do it in the one day. I went and bought some new fence panels, and I tidied up and I weeded out stuff, and I went up the tip and I took some stuff off and polished up the front. And at the end I looked at the front of the house and I went, oh my God, it looks amazing. Now next thing I'm going to do is the hallway. And then suddenly I had that feeling that I could actually walk way through. You've got to create this walking your way through. Okay? Now, as I'm telling you this is a method I've used a lot with people who want to be artists, is to have a look at their goals and to critique their goals. I haven't done it fully here. I've just introduced to the idea that that's a solution to that. Now, there was an educationist called Kolb, and he came up with Kolb's learning cycle, which looks like this. And this could be applied to creativity, you know. So you're basically moving around a circle of creativity, according to Kolb. Creativity is based upon having new experiences. So sometimes you've got to not be creative. You've got to go out and explore something which is new and compelling to you. You've got to not do what you've done before. This is one of the things that holds creative people up, is that they got into music because they heard something they never heard before. They found it massively compelling. It motivated, because of course the biggest motivator for musicians, creative musicians, is music. So they've heard something creative, right? And they want that, so they start to do all this thing, and they build all these skills around the fact that they're motivated by this type of music. But then that skill set starts to damn them. There's a tyranny to that skill set, because they start to say, well, I'm a country and western musician, or I'm a jazz musician. I can't do anything else. I can't like anything else. I know I like that, but I can't go down there because I've committed myself to this. And also I support this thing like a football fan, and I would be cheating if I did something else. I can't just knock it all on there and start making dance music, or just go and do something else. I can't, even though I want to, I can't. So it becomes a tyranny, right? When you're in that place, you won't be creative. It's new ideas that make you creative. And so you have to go and listen to new music, or read new books, or travel, or go and do something that's really, really important. When you go and have new experiences, you then move. That's at 12 o'clock on Kolb's learning cycle. We now have moved round to about 3 o'clock. And 3 o'clock is where we sort of have these vague ideas. You know, well, I really want to do make some music about black holes. I don't know why, but I just love black holes. I want to make an album about black holes or some tunes, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. Then you start to work around that. And if the motivation's there, so maybe I'm going to do, I'd like to do a song where I can feel like the everything around it. It sort of sucks in and says, how would I do that? That probably means I've got to do some sort of electronic stuff. I don't really know about that, so I'm going to have to study that. But that's what I'm going to do. And so we move from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. These vague ideas are slowly forming into concrete ideas. And then when they form into concrete ideas, you then have to put them down, right? And when you put them down, you have to put them down whatever. Right? I'm looking at you now because this is the biggest thing that stops people being creative. They are who they are, right? They get to that point, they put the idea down and they go, oh, the idea's not very good. No, I don't like it. I don't know. I didn't perform it well. Or I don't think I'm that good really. And all this insecurity starts to come in. And so they shelve that idea. And when you shelve that idea, you go all the way back round, and you may be so stagnant then. And when you're stagnant, you'll get depressed. But you may then, something might happen, you start to listen to more new experiences, thing happens, and again, you go round there to 6 o'clock and you stall. And then you go back round. And this is an awful place to be for musicians, creative people. They are damned by that. The only thing they can do to break that is to record the thing and get the thing out there, which is 9 o'clock. Let's get it out there. Once you get the piece of art out there, right, that you have created the basis of a new experience. You know, once you've got something new out there, it's like a fresh thing and you move forward. At that point, you can then go quite successfully. I did this thing and I like those aspects of it, but I didn't like that. So I'm going to now pursue that. So this circle that you go around is like a corkscrew and it winds itself through this aspect. It goes winding through. So now I've described the goal at the end, which is motivating you. I've described the fact that we've future-proofed it, so we know all the things that are in the way. And one of the biggest things that will stop us is not understanding the corkscrew mechanism with which we wind our way through into the future if we're a creative person, which is new experiences, vague ideas, concrete ideas, get those ideas out there. New experience, vague ideas, concrete ideas, get those ideas out there. Stick to it, get the idea out there. Do not, if you can't do that, right, you might put a pile of crap out, it might be rubbish. But really, if your perfectionism, right, now your perfectionism is based upon this, right? You are judging yourself with a sort of insecurity, and your insecurity is based upon the damnation of the past. The fact that this didn't work, the fact that people said this about you, the fact that this is going on, the blah, 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 all this stuff that you have got, right, from your past, which is stopping you from moving forward. The story that you tell, right, the story that you tell about yourself, that is the damnation of the past, right? If there's something behind you that is stopping you from moving forward, you are damned, and you are damned by that thing. And the only way to move forward is to let that go and go, no, I am not going to be bossed around by the idea that what I do is no good and what I do is like, we'll just get lost in the vast, you know, morass of stuff that's out there, and so-and-so's better than me, and so-and-so said that about me when I was 14, and all these things that are holding, that's the damnation of the past, right? The tyranny of the future is believing that when you go forward, right, that it's going to be a certain way. That's what tyranny is. Tyranny is something that comes and says, you've got to do this a certain way. You have to say this, you have to act like this, you have to think like this. You don't. You don't have to stick to anything. You can do whatever you want to do, right? So, the corkscrew that winds its way through towards your goal. Now, what is your goal? Your goal will be something specific, right? The goal, I don't think, really needs to include the creative foundation of what you're doing. The goal, fundamentally, for a creative musician should be the goal of sustainability. Now, as I get to the end of this video, I am toying with an idea. I have a Patreon and there's a link down below. And on that I do lots of videos like I do on YouTube, a bit more esoteric stuff. I write articles, I put my own music up there. We have Zoom meetings where we chat about music we like, and every now and then I have a special guest come in to Patreon. Last week we had Bevan from ELO, and he came in and chatted to the patrons. That's what I normally do, right? In my Patreon, I have incredible creative musicians, right? And they are hungry for advice from me. Right now, I've spent 30 years doing this, and this is basically what I do, is help creative people be creative, and I've developed strategies. Or there's music fans. Now, I know that having really motivated, interested music fans and having really motivated creative musicians is a wonderful thing. And I've been thinking recently, this is the problem with music education, is that we're not educating the fans. Imagine a situation we've got an education system that isn't just educating the artists, it's educating the fans. They're all working together. Music fans, how motivating would it be to be able to work with artists, to listen to their stuff, to advise them, to think, to help them, to be fans of them, basically, because that's what your first fans that you ever get are part of the process. Anybody who has actually made this will know that the first people who like you are the people that support you, and they help you. They in many cases can go, I absolutely love that track. What, you like that track? Yeah, what do you like about it? It was just so cool the way that started off. Oh no, that was just something, I didn't think that. No, it's really good. Oh, I can do that really easily. Is that really good when I just do it like that? Yeah, I love it if it's like that. But I was singing a bit out of tune. Oh no, your singing's better like that. When you do all that, get it all perfect, I don't like it as much. When you got that, but really, because I can do that quite easily. You don't think it's bad? No, I don't think. All these things, this is really what holds back creativity or makes creativity happen. It's not about theory knowledge. It's not about having contacts in the music industry. It's none of those things. It's the things I'm talking about now. And very rarely does anyone ever mention these things. But this is the stuff that creativity is based on. When you create new things, it's compelling, right? It's compelling, and when people experience it, they love it, right? The reason why most people don't make it in the industry, because their stuff is competent, predictable, and bland. Right? You know why? Because musicians spend most of their time with a whole bunch of damnation in their past and tyranny in their future, trying to do something that they think is commercial, that sounds like something else. Right? And what I mean, I don't just mean style-wise, the fact that there's no mistakes on there, that there's no edge on there, there's nothing that sets it apart. They've blanded out every single thing on there through their own insecurities, through all the things I've just discussed. They have blanded it out so that when people hear it, they go, that's all right, I've heard that before. Click on to the next one. That's all right. Now, there is a website called Submit It Hub. And on Submit It Hub, you can put your music up there, and then you can pay for influencers to listen to it. And you never know, the influencers might actually listen to it and go, I might share this on my Instagram. And of course, that is how the industry works. You want to know how you break artists? It's through influencers. It's those fans that support you, the early fans, right? Now, these influencers are getting paid to just listen to your stuff and then go, I don't like it, right? But you don't have to pay on there. You can create credits, and you can create credits by going onto that website and rating and ranking other people's stuff. Now, I have done this with creative musicians because I'm a teacher. I've been able to sit down with a bunch of creative musicians and go, let's go to Submit It Hub and let's start rating people's music. And you put the first track on, they go, well, it sounds really good, it's really produced, but God, I've heard this a million times. God, it's boring, is it? You go, next one. Oh, it's really well produced, isn't it? But God, it's really boring. Oh, it just sounds like standard. Yeah, next one. Oh my God, and it's like that. And you see, so like 99% of people are just creating highly competent, well recorded, because you can nowadays, stuff that is boring, predictable, and has no individuality about it whatsoever. The thing that's going to make you sell is your ability to express your humanity, because art is the personal and the objective together. It's like I have a view of the world, it's my personal view of the world, right? But my personal view of the world sort of chimes with everybody else, but it sort of doesn't. So when you see that, you go, People go, oh, I've never thought of it like that. I've never thought of it like that. That's the kids. You know, when you're on Facebook or Instagram, you're going through all the videos and something catches your interest, fundamentally underneath, it will be the thing of, oh yeah, I've never thought of it like that. That's the basic of every joke, anything that's funny. Oh yeah, that I've never thought of it like that. I've never thought of it like that. Where does that come from? That's another human being that has a novel view of the world that you understand. Right, you understand it, but it makes you see the world in a different way. You know? Do you know that thing where is it Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn, where they all think he's dead, and they have a memorial service, and they turn up and they watch their own memorial service. They sort of sneak in the back and watch it. That is about as compelling as anything can be to anybody. You know, if you have a recording of someone says, I've got a recording of people talking about you, they didn't know you was recorded. You go, oh, come on, hear that, right? That because the reason I want to hear it is because you understand yourself more by getting a true representation of somebody else of the way the world is, which means the way the world is to you. All right. So creative artists need to be truthful, and to be truthful, the art needs to be created warts and all. And when you go around that circle and you get to that point when you put the thing down and you go, oh no, I'm not confident with this, I don't think it's good enough. Right, and I gotta be honest, I've worked for 30 years in this. I've met amazingly talented people that really are doing something interesting, and I've got involved with them only to get a growing, nagging frustration emerging as they start to pull what they do apart by questioning every single aspect of it. Right, when I see it, I say, where's this coming from? It's the idea of imagining the arts in the future. It's like someone saying, I know what people will think when they look at it. And when they look at it, they will think that it is wrong. They will go, I don't understand this. Why is somebody doing this when it's like this? So that has to be changed. Right? And I don't want to come across looking bad, because I believe that when someone's listening to my music, they're going to be judging me on how good I am. And so if they hear me not being good, they're going to go, oh, this bloke's not good. So I've got to make sure that I look good and that it all makes sense. Right? And that becomes what the art's about. And most people, that is all they're doing, is that. Right? Now that's based upon a massive conceit. First of all, you haven't got a clue what people are thinking. Secondly, people don't listen to stuff and judge how good people are when they listen to music. They just don't do it at all. Right? Even all those Instagram people that are coming out with a load of virtuosity and impressing, people who are impressed by that type of stuff. I promise you, there's a whole bunch of really difficult skill-based stuff that doesn't work. Right? What they are doing is they are conforming to an idea of what virtuosity is. Fast, and complex and well executed, right? And people will go, they will see that, and when you press those buttons, they will go, oh, I pressed that button in me, I like that, right? Then they will be all those people there going, yeah, but it's not really art, because it's not really art, that's not art, okay? It's not art. The artist that can express that level of virtuosity, but balanced by their personal expression of their personality and their flaws, that is what all the great musicians are. Right? But on the whole, and I've become very aware of this, is that people first get attached to a piece of art. It's not the intellectual analysis of how perfect it is, it's the visceral expression that they pick up on. Right? And so you need to go for that. And you don't know what it is because you do not know what makes something good. None of us do. We wouldn't be doing this if we knew.
There's so many things to say about this. First of all, I do think that, like, I personally believe that performing live and like making art in private are like completely two different art forms. You know, it's like theater versus film.
Yeah.
So it's like it requires such a different thing. It's like I do agree. Like, you know, live, it's like you almost have to fake it if you're not feeling or whatever. It's like you have to get up to that like bare minimum average. You know.
Yeah.
But then the other thing I'll say is, like, not to get all spiritual, but I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but like for me, it's like no matter how much I practice an instrument, like I've been like playing a lot of guitar the past few years. Like that's been like kind of my main thing, other than kind of got like a little burnt out on piano, like playing it so much. So like guitar has really been the thing I've been focusing on. And, you know, just some days I'll just pick it up and I'll be like, oh my God, like I am amazing. Like this is like the most beautiful thing I've ever played. It's coming through me and I'm doing stuff that's like difficult. And then other days, like I can bear, it's like I'm making mistakes playing fucking chords, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like I don't even know where
when it's going well, it's like
from,
you've actually just discovered the instrument again for the first time. You go, oh, that sounds amazing. What if I try and play wrong notes? Oh my God, they sound amazing too. It's like that feeling, isn't it? And you know, oh my God, this is really brilliant. Oh, I love the guitar.
But I'm saying is it comes from something. I almost feel like that excellence, that thing above average, it's something you can't control. It comes, I believe it comes from something beyond me. I'm not even saying it's God or whatever. It's just like, it feels like I can't control that mind state I'm in, where when I sit down and it's like, this is real connection with the instrument. There's no amount of meditating or tea or whatever, sitting in the grass in the morning, that's going to consistently get me to that place. Sometimes the opposite. Sometimes I'm feeling terribly emotional or vulnerable, and then I'm right there when I'm playing. But sometimes the vulnerability, it's too vulnerable. And it's like, I don't even want to make music. I hate myself, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. So
I've realized something what you've just said then, because if I've got a gig, I will practice the stuff, make sure I got it nailed. And when the gig is going well, it's because I've been out on tour. You get 3 or 4 dates in, and then suddenly it kicks in, and you find yourself, you're playing it. You don't have to think about it. You know what's going on. When I'm in my studio making tracks, I'm almost like trying to catch myself out. So I really don't know what I'm doing. So I will never do a drum part. I will never learn. It's like I will never learn the part first.
Yeah,
I'm in there before I know what's going on, because I want to try and get that instant where the groove hits me and I don't know what I'm doing, and I just naturally whatever.
Immediacy. You know?
And they're two completely different things. They're two completely different states. And because I really hate it when you go for something, third time you go for it, and it's not happening. You have to give up, because that 20th take will be perfect, but it will not.
It'll be terrible. Yeah, there'll be no immediacy.
I
think that people don't like. That's just the word I use for it, at least, is that like when I'm producing someone, it's like always in the back of my mind. It's like try to capture the kind of first like thing, like try to do things in as few takes as possible on every instrument, on everything. It's like even if there's mistakes, because like people can feel when something is immediate and real, you know, and otherwise it turns into being like acting. And I don't mean like acting like an art form, but I mean like acting in the bad way, where it's like I am singing this part, like, and this is the 50th time, and I don't believe it, and it's just like whatever, the mechanics of my mouth moving, or I'm playing the guitar and it's like perfectly in time, but there's nothing behind it. There's no driving like force. There's no emotional energy. Like you can. There's this author I really love, Scott McClanahan. I don't know. He's like more of an indie author.
Yeah, I'm not very good on authors.
He wrote this amazing book called The Sarah Book, but he also is just an awesome writer. But I just watched this interview with him a couple of days ago, where he talked about like his goal with art, and paraphrasing. So if he watches this, like, I don't know, hopefully I'm not misrepresenting him, but so he really kind of says like in writing, there's kind of a compression of emotion, a compression and expansion of like emotional energy, right? And I really think that's true with like all art form, where it's like you have to get the emotion in the thing, in the recording, so that way when someone plays it back, like that's why I love the 61 Village Vanguard John Coltrane. I know he was feeling something, and I can feel it every time I play that recording. So if you're just playing something for the sake of it, well, what are you even doing? You know, like you're not really benefiting art as a whole. It's like you got to put your soul in it. It has to be emotional, so that way people have a reason to listen to it.
The reason why artists sit down and explore is because they're exploring what makes something good, because they don't know, and that's why they put it out there. And that's why when you go around this Kolb's circle of creativity, which is now what I've called it, That is why it's so important that when you get that on that stage is to put it out there and find out, because you do not know, right? And don't be so arrogant to think that you do. You don't, all right? You don't. And by putting stuff out there, you will be able to fine tune it and move forward on that creative circle.
Say something about your process. I mean, about maybe some tips, or like, you know, how does your brain work?
Does it work? I don't know.
It probably
The
does.
big question we've all been asking for many years.
I would say there's a flow process going on. When I'm in the creative flow, it's just like I just instantly hear what comes next. And what I try not to get is attached to what I've just created. So if I come up with a great riff on the guitar or on the keyboard or something, you know, the tendency is to keep listening to that because it sounds great and it really inspires you. But I try and let go of that and just move on, keep what flows after that. What's the answer to that phrase? Where does it lead to? Or if it's repeating the phrase, how does it repeat differently? Does it repeat on different instruments? Does it repeat with a variation? And keep that flow going. And sometimes it just comes really quickly. Some of the compositions on Interdimensional Garden Party just came really quickly. Like the title track flowed out quickly. Wickety Wickety came out really quickly. They just flowed, and it was just like, oh, here's the next part. Oh, here's the next part. Because I didn't get attached to just listening to something. And that can be a temptation, especially when you just get, oh, this is so good, I want to just listen into it all the time. But it can just get you stuck in a rut. So almost like as soon as you've got it, as soon as you've recorded the idea, let it go. You can hear it again later. Just let it go and just move on. Just keeping surfing that wave. Otherwise, you just wipe out.
Philosophy Sunday for me is like doing a solo. It's like doing a jazz gig. Okay, the way I do Philosophy Sundays, I spend the whole time making the thumbnail. The thumbnail for this was made beforehand, right? It's a vague idea. The original idea for this video was a thumbnail that was me old and me young, because that unrealistic view of ourselves is a view that we have of ourselves. We are sat here right now, but we have this idea of us when we were young, and we have this idea of us in the future. And I thought it was creatively interesting. You know, my kids come in with these aging apps, and we all have a laugh. And I think, yeah, well, that's funny because we've seen the world in a different way. It's all about the things I'm talking about on this video. When you see yourself old, you are projecting yourself into the future. It's this axis, but the axis that we actually live in is this axis here. It's the world of space. I am in this here. The eternal now, which just keeps going on and on. There is no future and past. There's just me existing in the eternal now. This is imagined. It's based upon your constructed memory of your past, right? And then you utilize that to predict your future, right? The people that cannot move forward because of their personal view about how they have been damned by the awfulness of their past. And you'll talk to these people. You know, why don't you do this? Oh, no, I can't be. I don't want to do that. Why don't you just do it? Well, I don't know. I did it once and it didn't work. I don't know. What's the point? That's depression. That's like there. That's all going downhill to depression. Imagine just lie in bed and wait for death. Or you could be going, I know what it's going to be like in the future, and it's going to be bad. There's no point in bothering, right? All that the future contains is threats, right? And I can't deal with threats. Now, the goal setting for those people, and I think the goal setting will counteract depression because you eventually come to a compelling goal, and people can't resist a compelling goal. Oh yeah, I don't want to do it, but now you've said that, that would be quite fun actually if we were to do that. Yeah, if we do it, it may work. Yeah, I can see how it does work because we've done all the work, right? But compelling goals also, we can take away the worries. And once you know that your future is bright and there's a chance of this happening, I think there's a good chance this is going to happen. Yeah, I do too. I really do. The only thing that might stop it is this. Yeah, but that won't matter, because if that does happen, then we'll have still gained this, right? So these are the obstacles that stop you from being creative. If you are a creative person, you have to express your creativity. You have to. If you don't, you will die.
Imagine a child or a toddler were to learn how to walk, and would make its first attempt to walk and would stumble, and you'd be like, no, you're stumbling, man. You got to keep the balance, man. You got to stay straight and put 1 foot forward after the other. You cannot do that. You cannot be like at the first wrong note, be like, nah, that's wrong. That's wrong. You cannot play this. This is not making the changes. It's you need to allow the mistakes. Every mistake is an opportunity for improvement. And by trying to suppress these mistakes, what is even a mistake? A mistake is if your expectation and the end result are misaligned, right?
Mm.
And I feel like also when, like on the guitar specifically, when discovering the fretboard, like I want to explore certain positions, find certain notes, I find it very, this is especially a thing with adult students, what that holds them back from learning is that they're too judgmental about how something sounds. It doesn't matter how something sounds, you're just looking for the notes. Or I tell them, here's the chord tones, here's the chord progression. Play only using the root, the third, and the fifth. See what happens. And say, yeah, but it doesn't sound musical, it doesn't sound musical. Doesn't matter if it sounds musical, just play the right note. Just learn where the notes are and later on put them together. Like, it's the same with singing. In singing, you oftentimes make functional sounds like when that connects the different registers of your voice. Imagine you have this attitude, but that sounds horrible. What are my neighbors going to think? And what is anybody going to think? You're trying to skip to the end of the line, which is the final product, and that's not a good place to be when you're learning and exploring.
If you listen to Gregory Peccary by Frank Zappa, the little pig Gregory eventually ends up on Billy the Mountain, and he meets a philosopher. And Gregory Peccary feels very bad because he has discovered this thing called time. And everyone's found out how old they are, and they're really upset about it. And he asks this philosopher what time is. And the philosopher says that time is of affliction. Right? It is. Time is of. It is the thing that's inside an affliction. An affliction is something that comes along and constrains and controls you. It's another way, I think, and I might have got this wrong, but it might be another way of describing the tyranny of time and the damnation of our pasts, your past and my past. So I think I got the end of this video. That's been Philosophy Sunday today. I hope that's been of some help. If you like the video, please like. And if you want to see some more like this, subscribe and ring the notification bell. And if you like my idea of having a part in my Patreon where, and it would be a higher price, I'm gonna charge more for this, because you will need more of my time to do this. You would have to have connection to me for me able to sit with you and you know, for me to go through the goals, go through the cold process, try and solve the things that you're not able to do, try and get you doing the things you could do. All these things that I've spent all my life doing for real in person, I can do this online. So if it's an interesting idea, put in the comments if you're interested in this, because I'm about to start pulling together. I'm not going to keep talking because I keep coming back to this idea of quality. Have any of you ever read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance? It's a very interesting book where this guy argues that quality is the basic building block of the universe, which is an interesting idea. I think I need to talk about quality. I think quality is something we need to talk about it. Am I qualified to talk about quality? That's the question. Right, so done, finished. Like everything, subscribe everything, go to my Patreon, go on my Patreon, pay me some money every month. I get more money, and then when I get more money, I'll do this more. Right? I don't know where I'm going with this. You don't know where I'm going with this. I didn't expect to be sat here when I first opened my YouTube up many years ago doing, top 10 weather report albums, that I would be sat here delving deep in a sort of unfettered, unconscious way into these ideas within a structure where I don't really know what I'm doing, hoping that I can access some truth which is beyond what I normally could express because I'm just not clever enough to. But the unique situation of having a camera on and that little red light on right now, and knowing that I've got to keep talking, maybe I can access the same place where creativity comes from and actually say something that I didn't mean to say, but has some compelling truth in it, based upon my experience as being a musician, of being an educator, right? That is what I'm trying to do here. I'm going to go now and put this video on and watch it, and I'll be sat there going, well, I've never thought of that before. It's weird, isn't it? So how can you think that you know what's going to happen in the future, then you can use your past to predict it? We're not plugged into something that's that simple when we do this. There's a lot of finger pointing going on here, a lot of finger pointing. Right, I'm pointing at you. If I'm pointing you, right, you know what, I'm pointing at you because I know you're doing this. And that's what this video is about. You get to the end of this video, if you've watched this to the end, I'm pointing at you and you're going, yeah, this is me. Yes, it's you. This is you. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? How do you break the cycle? And what's the name of the cycle? Kolb's creative cycle. How do you break it? With good, positive, compelling, specific goals, right? And a motivation to keep going around that circle, and the reduction of your ego, so you are able to put out stuff there which is bad, right? So you can learn and grow. Now, anybody who says I'm frightened of putting out stuff that's bad, if you're frightened of it, put it in the comments. And the next video, look at my finger, look at it. There's a lot of 3D work on this. I hope you got your glasses on, because this is the one video where you get to use your 3D glasses. You there, you, I'm pointing at you, I'm accusing you. Right, you want to be perfect, but you're not perfect. It's not that you're not perfect because you produce like stuff with a few bum notes on, or the production's not right, or it doesn't sound like your favourite group. It's because you did not get anything finished. Ooh. I'm shutting my laptop now. I normally do that when I switch the camera off. I'm shutting the laptop down now because I'm at the end of the video. I know it, right? Here's all the albums from all the other stuff I've done. Right, I'm going to put these back now. I've got there. Right, I've got there. On this video, it was the pointing. It was the pointing. It was the shaming. The shaming, me shaming you now, which will hopefully counteract the damnation of shame that you have from your own past. Oh no, I don't want to do what Andy says. I don't want to do it. Yeah, but I have to. He's made the argument that I've got to do it. Which one's this? Shirley Bassey. Any Shirley Bassey fans out of there? Oh, I love the feeling when you get to the end of a video and you've done it and you go, right, I should really switch the camera off. Let's keep going now. Let's keep going. Right? Because it's just like, in Lord of the Rings, when they've done it and they've dropped the ring into Mount Doom and they've sat and the eagles have taken off. That film goes on for another half an hour and it's a lovely feeling because that it's very rare you get that film. There's no story at that point. It's just carrying on. It just carries on, and this is like that. Oh my God. I'm looking at this ELO album and I didn't even know this was in here. I've got an inner sleeve thing with all the lyrics on. This is Discovery. And there they are. I had Bevan in my Patreon last week. He actually came in and I wanted to pull a photograph out on another video and I couldn't find one on the ELO album, but it was there, you see, it's there. There's a picture of ELO. There's my mate Bevan, there he is, with his Rotor Toms. He played rototoms on this album, and there they are. There is here Kelly Growcutt, who was the late great bass player Sid Gaviello, and also the father of Rob Growcutt, who is a guy I worked with a lot. And if you watch my Shaka Khan video, he's the guy that made that video, mixed it, and he's also the guy that plays keyboards and does some of the backing vocals on it. So it's an interesting world, isn't it? Right, so I'll put these back now. Are you still here? I'm not switching off, right? I'm not switching off. You could switch off first. Go on, switch it off, right? Most people switch off within the first 40 or 50 seconds on YouTube, right? You have to realise this, you know, all that worry about things. And then you get the same probably 20 people at the end of the video, and they get right to the end of the video because they go, Andy does stuff at the end of the video, and you just never know what he's going to do. You know why you never know what he's going to do? I tell you why, because I don't know what I'm going to do, but I tell you what I'm going to do now. Finger came out here, right? Over there is my studio. So I'm going to allow you another view, right? So let's get this composed. Let's move this around to here, right? So this is the other side of my studio here. Now here is my computer. Now I'm going to sit in a different position. We're going to get a different view. That's quite a nice view, actually. I should use this one. It's more of my musician view, isn't it? I'm sat here with my drum kit. I've got two beautiful drum kits in here. And behind me, if I switch, I'm going to switch on the machine. Right? Switch on my computer. So, oh, the lovely sound of an old Apple Mac. Right, so at the moment, why am I saying all this stuff? It's because I am working on an album at the moment, and I think it's one of the best albums I have done. Now, I did an album a few months ago. I hadn't done an album for a while, and it had got a title that I can't pronounce because it was actually a chemical equation or symbol was the title of the album. You can go and have a look at it. Came out in April. This new album, now that last album was okay, but I knew it wasn't a great album, but it had got some good stuff on it. It was an album to get me back. Hadn't done any recordings for a while, to get me back being creative. There are ideas on that album that I have now brought into this album, and they're coming together because there's a strength behind it, right? So I'm going to actually play you a little bit of this album. This is like a special feature. This is just a little treat for all of you that have stayed to the end. I don't know how much of a treat it is. And I'm going to play you a little bit of it. So just open up Cubase. Oh, I have to wait for the thing to stop. So I've got an old Apple Mac, right? This Apple Mac behind me is... it's got to be over 10 years old, maybe 12, 13 years old. It's never been hooked up to the internet. It's not allowed to go near the internet. It thinks that it's 2010. It really does. If it ever hooks up to the internet, I've had it, right? That computer, if you did hook up to the internet, you wouldn't be able to look at YouTube because it hasn't got the stuff in it to look at YouTube. It would just go, what the hell's this? It's like, but it works. Right, it works. It never crashes. It runs Cubase beautifully. It's absolutely fine, right? I've got an older version of Cubase. You could never put a new Cubase on it. And this is where I make my albums. It says have I got a newer version of the product. I hate when it does this, especially when it's going to do on camera. Open. Okay, now I've got two versions of this. Right, so this track is going to be the opening track. I'm going to play you a little bit of it. And then you can tell me whether you like it. That'll be your treat. Am I still in camera view? Right, so here we go. It's not going to sound great because you're just hearing it on my... Anyway, I'm making excuses. You see what I just did then? I did that insecure thing. You'll have to listen. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, sod you. Right, so this is the track.
Not sure what to do with your life. Been over it so many times. Is it making you scream and shout? Don't know what it's all about. I've got a little bit of advice. You might think it's very nice if you think about it